Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Looking at Monday Night Football with you guys here. Got the Bengals in Dallas taking on them boys. We'll be going through about 6 player prop projections and best bets. Technically 7, but I got 2 plays for one guy, so we'll go through that stuff. Going to take you through what happened on Sunday in both the NFL and the NBA real quick, so you know exactly where we're at. And also got a few promotions for you, so you can get some free money if you like, and get a free month in the VIP. But if that all sounds good to you, go ahead and give that video a like. Let's jump right into it. 2 and 3 in the NFL on Sunday in the VIP Discord. Disappointing, but only minus 0.2 units that we lost on the day here. So not feeling too bad about it, but we are going to be looking to improve on that here on Monday night. Obviously, Braylon Allen was easy, cash in the first quarter. Jordan Addison cashed in the first half on one play. And then Chuba was really honestly upended by the fact that Jonathan Brooks got hurt in the first quarter. And then we were done with that bet. And the Panthers had a bit more success against the Eagles than I will say I thought they would. Jameis Winston did not do what I thought he would do. Really not much to it. He was pretty inaccurate this game. And I would say that Pittsburgh didn't really seem to mix up any of the scheme that they ran at him. It was mostly just a pretty inaccurate day and pretty good pressure on him as well without a lot of time to throw. Big reason for that. Will Levis seemed like he was going to pick it up there in the second quarter, and then he got hurt at the very end of the second quarter, injured his shoulder, didn't look the same in the second half, and Tennessee's offense became completely anemic and totally stagnant. So 2 and 3, it should actually say minus 1.2 units, not trying to trick you guys there, just bad at math, and it's late on a Sunday night after a long day of NBA and NFL. In the NBA, I will say we went 5 and 3, made a unit. So overall, at about minus 0.2 on the day. That's really what that number is. Overall, we're very even though. So we're still looking good here. I do want to give you guys an opportunity to jump into the VIP Discord if you're interested. If you do, go ahead and sign up to Sleeper using code LYB. If you don't yet have an account on Sleeper, perfect for all the pick'em stuff that you guys do. Make sure you have this one alongside anything else you're playing, like prize picks or underdog, rebet, any of those. You want to also be able to have Sleeper so you can compare each player's lines just like you would in a traditional sports book. But if you do use code LYB, you get an extra $100 deposit match, and you'll also go ahead and get a month in the VIP Discord that I have for free. Up 35 units between the NBA and the NFL. We'll say the NBA is doing a lot of the legwork here, but that's the offer I'm throwing you guys. Just send me a screenshot, DM me, I should say, on Discord or Twitter at JLBoogie. Hopefully you're familiar by now, but let's go ahead and get into what we're looking at here for Monday night. As we dive into the Bengals offense to kick off the breakdown of this game here, I do want to throw a couple things at you because I think the total is probably still good to go over at 49.5. It's pretty high, but you look at both these teams, Cincy 9 and 3 to the over, Dallas 8 and 4 to the over this season. And both these teams are just much better on offense than they are on defense. And to be honest, the Cowboys are just kind of bad in general right now. But the Bengals, in terms of their offense, I will say, I think they're going to have plenty of success. I don't know why you would think otherwise. They are first in pass yards on the season. Very high pass percentage. That's why I'm kind of scared to go to anybody like Chase Brown, even for the rushing yards. Don't think it's impossible. I think this game's going to be a little bit closer than maybe people are giving it credit for. But the pass EPA for the Bengals tells the truth. It's the 6th best. This is a very good pass offense. They give Joe Burrow a good amount of time as well. They are 18th in pressure percentage, but he gets the ball out really quickly. So the amount that he's actually under legit pressure or getting knocked down is pretty low compared to like the actual pressure percentage where he is under duress, but he's not really getting hit. And a lot of those plays are scripted to be rather quick. Even the ones with Jamar Chase, when they get him alone on the outside and he's flying down the sidelines, doesn't take that much time for him to get down there. So that's why the amount of time that it takes Joe Burrow to get rid of the ball is in the top 10. And it's a reason that their offense is able to hum so well, even with 27th in rushing yards and 21st in rush EPA. The rush EPA shows they're not that bad. They're getting 15th in terms of adjusted yards before contact. So they are getting some push with their offensive line. It's just that they're trailing and they choose to pass a ton, especially with a versatile guy like Chase Brown, who's always good in the pass game. For Dallas, the reason that they're 13th against the pass is because teams are choosing to run on them and leading a lot, right? Teams don't have to pass against them, but they are better against the pass than they are the run, especially because that pass rush is so good. They're first in pressure percentage on the season, and they are 8th rather, depending on which site you use, 6th to 8th in terms of blitz percentage. So they're purposely trying to get after the quarterback. It's a big reason that quarterbacks get rushing yards against them. It's a big reason that you can get some receptions and receiving yards for the running back as well. Got to get those quick receptions out there, right? T. Higgins, another good guy to target in this game. But I do think Chase Brown will have some success on the ground. I'll talk about the prop that I'm targeting with him just in a sec. On the other side of the ball, this Cowboys offensive line is much better in the pass game than it is in the run game. but not much to write home about. 7th in passing yards because they have to be, because they're trailing in the top 10 most amount on the season, but they're dead last in pass EPA. Now, they're giving Cooper Rush time. He's 6th in terms of the pressure percentage that he's under on the season. So the Bengals probably won't have the ability to get too much pressure on them. They're 16th in pressure percentage, 15th in blitz percentage. So they're trying to run and they're trying to blitz, pressure the quarterback the amount that they're blitzing, right? It's not like they're better at getting to the quarterback than their numbers belie. This is really how good they are. For Cooper Rush, though, he's going to have to be passing anyway. I mean, Joe Burrow is going to score points on this team. But the rush yards, not something that I'd be targeting here. In fact, we'll probably be looking at a fade of Rico Dowdle. I'll talk about that in a second. Not a direct fade of the rushing yards, but there's some stuff I want to look at with him. For the Bengals on defense, not great, but I'm going to go over a few things that kind of indicate that they've been a lot better against the run than we might think as of late. And specifically on the inside, once they got Sheldon Rankins back, their great D tackle, they became really difficult to run inside the tackles. Now, you can get out on the edges against them, so that's something to watch out for Rico Dowdle. I just don't know how often the Cowboys are going to have the opportunity to even run the ball. We saw Dowdle get 22 carries, for the 100 and whatever yards against the Giants. This team is better than the Giants, and I think that this game will be higher scoring than the Giants. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and be looking at some passing stuff for the Cowboys as opposed to any kind of rush. I got a couple bets for Joe Burrow, so let's get right into them. I think 3+ passing TDs for better than 2-1 on your money is a good look for Burrow. And I like over 8.5 rushing yards as well. We're backing him in both these bets. No fades of Joey B here. 3 pass TDs in 4 straight games, and we're still getting plus 215 against a Dallas team that is just bad. I mean, they've given up the second most touchdowns on the season overall. So you can get in through the air. Obviously, they're worse through the ground. But Burrow and company have the highest or second highest passing percentage inside the red zone. So even when they get close to the goal line, this dude's still throwing. In fact, had 2 throws to T. Higgins from the 1 last game. 2 targets inside the end zone to Higgs from the 1-yard line. So even when they get to the 1, they're still throwing the ball. And for the rushing yards, I mean, this is easy money, baby. I mean, Dallas is a pressure rate team that blitzes as well, which leads to QB rushes because he has to, not because they're designing runs for Joe Burrow. But if you look at 5 of the last 6 quarterbacks that play the Cowboys, five of them went over at least 10+ rushing yards. The only one who didn't is Kirk Cousins. And I'm pretty sure if a rabid dog was chasing Kirk Cousins down the field, he still wouldn't rush for it because he physically can't after Achilles and whatever, all the knee stuff for the last couple of years. So yeah, that's everybody but Kirk Cousins gets over on the rushing yards for this against the Cowboys. And Burrow himself has gone over in 4 of the last 5, getting up 10 rushing yards in 4 of those. So I think he's good for up to 10+ rushing yards in this game. And I do think it's worth at least half a unit on the 3+ passing tutties. And one of those passing tutties shall be sent to T. Higgins because, yeah, right. I mean, Jamar Chase, another great option for a touchdown. Both of these guys combined together on a parlay gets you about 4.5-1. So that's not bad. They've done that a couple times already this season, 3 times actually. And Cincinnati, as mentioned, will pass the ball wherever they are on the field. It's a big reason as I get into Chase Brown, I'm not going over straight on his rushing yards just because I don't know that they're going to give it to him enough, even if they're winning. And I think they'll be giving up some points to the Cowboys through the air. If you look at him last week, like I said, 2 targets from the 1, and he's got 1+ tutty in each of the last 3 games. So this is the man that I'm targeting here in this game for a touchdown. If you want to go with Jamar Chase, it's worse odds. You can still get about plus 140 for Higgs. So I went with him. They're both probably going to get in. So maybe it's worth a little either round robin or a parlay with the 2 of them. Instead of going for the straight rushing yards for Chase Brown, who is so dynamic, I'm just going to take him for the long rush over 15.5 because this is clearly his backfield now. And I think he's only going to continue to be more involved as the season goes on, and hopefully they make it into the playoffs. This is the worst rush defense in the league. I mean, you can argue about them or the Saints. Maybe you want to put the Giants in there alongside them. Whatever. They're all poop when it comes to stopping the run. And this dude's had at least 15+ yards in 8 of 12 this season. And if you look at his yards per carry, it's actually not even as good as the Cowboys are bad at limiting it. Almost 5 yards per carry that the Cowboys are giving up. And this dude's at 4.5. I think he's going to be able to get this. You look at the amount of touches that he's seeing now. He's only seen like 12 or 13 rushing attempts in the last couple games, each game, because they're playing really, really good rush defenses, which is not this team. So I think he'll get back up to about 15, 16 rush attempts. And he's done this consistently, even when he didn't get that many rush attempts. So this is a really good opportunity to get some value on Chase Brown to get at least one rush for 15 plus yards. Gotta go with Cooper Rush on the over as well. 230 plus. I'd probably take this up to about 235, close to 240. But he's basically been unleashed because they don't have any reason to try to play safely at all, right? So the last three, 55 attempts, 22 attempts, and 36 against a Giants team that they were leading against. But they know they can't run the ball very well. So they have the third highest pass percentage in the league. Also, they're trailing a lot, which it might be closer to neutral than trailing in this game than we might expect, but it's still going to be at best neutral. Like, I don't see them pulling away from the Bengals without the Bengals getting some tutties to boot, right? I think that the Bengals scoring is going to lead to more fast-paced offense. Both these teams, because they play in the pass, they like to get up to the line pretty quickly, and then especially for Burrow, allow him to kind of call the play there. But that keeps the pace fast, and that keeps the Cowboys offense getting back on the field, whether because they're giving up big plays for touchdowns or because after a decently long drive, they're getting back on the field. They should have the ability to pass against a Bengals team that in their last three games is averaging, allowing, I should say, an average of 320, basically 7 passing yards per game. So I believe this man can get around 240, and that's about where I would take this up to, is 240 passing yards for Cooper Rush. I'm going to complicate this one for you guys. Jake Ferguson is a tight end. He is playing the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to take him for 5+ receptions. Looks like he's totally good and cleared after a concussion on Thursday Night Football, I believe, against the Giants. And now we're talking about a team that has given up 10 straight games that they have given up the prop to the tight end, allowed them to go over. So if 10 straight tight ends are going to go over versus the Bengals, and Jake Ferguson has a 5 receptions prop against them, and he's basically wide receiver 1 next to CD Lamb, this is where I'm going to go. They allow the 5th most receptions to the tight end, I should say. And if you want to consider, because Ferguson's been flanked out a couple of times and has been in the slot very consistently. And this is a team giving up a lot of yards to non-number 1 wide receivers, right? So I think that's why I like Ferguson basically as the wide receiver 2, because since he's not going to be able to do much after they have CD Lamb probably decently covered, but we don't even know CD's like what his involvement is going to be at this point. So this is the man who I think is going to continue. It's only his second year, doesn't have the ability or the contract yet to not keep performing. So I'll take him to go against this very porous Cincinnati defense. And I mentioned the slight sort of uptick in the Cincinnati run defense as of late, and that's kind of why I'm targeting an under for both rushing and receiving combined for Rico Dowdle. This number is at about 90 yards. That's where I'd go under. If you can get anything better than that, obviously go for it. But in the last 4 weeks, the Cincinnati defense has only allowed 62.5 rushing yards per game. They have the top 5 lowest explosive run rate allowed. So teams are not getting 20+ yard rushes against this defense. They're really able to contain things. And obviously they're trying to keep you on the inside because they're much better between the tackles. But look, 4 of the last 5 running backs against them that were not named Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry, who are the 2 best running backs in the league this year, they've gone under, right? And they've gone under this number too. I like adding the receiving for Dowdle because his receiving numbers have just diminished since he's become the clear-cut lead back with really nobody in second behind him anywhere near him. But his ADOT is awful. And Cooper Rush is really finding him in these rushed plays when he's under pressure. Dowdle has a -3 yard ADOT, which is normal for most running backs, but it's usually closer to the line of scrimmage or within a yard of the line of scrimmage. But catching the ball 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage and then trying to run forward, not going to help you get your receiving yards. This is at 19.5, and he's gone under in all of his last 4. So I like this trend for him to stay under there, and I like the fact that this Bengals team is still undervalued as a run defense. And I know a lot of you are going to ask me, how are they underrated as a run defense? And the reason that I say that they're underrated as a run defense, which I'll bring up right here. So in the last 4 games, they are 3rd in adjusted yards before contact. So you have to do some digging to be able to find that. It's not like that's just a very clear number that's listed everywhere, right? This is something behind a paywall. That's how I find this stuff. So the adjusted yards before contact in the last 4 games, 3rd best for this Cincinnati run defense. And if you look at between the tackles, and this stuff is on next gen stats, between the tackles, Dallas has the 6th worst adjusted yards before contact as a rush offense. And the Bengals are giving up the 4th fewest rushing yards between the tackles in the last 4 games. There you go. So that's what I mean by underrated. For those of you guys who are in the comments being like, what do you mean by underrated? That's what I mean, especially these underlying metrics for the Bengals rush defense. For those of you still tuned in, let you know we do have a code running right now for 50% off your first 2 months in the VIP. As I mentioned, we're sizzling in the NBA, 3 straight winning nights, up about 8 units now in the last 3 nights. So feeling really good there. 30 on the season, halfway to our goal of 60 units. And I'm actually going to up that now to 100 units on the season is the new goal. So if you guys are interested, you can use that code. There's 4 left now. After I redid that, there was 10 this morning. Got 4 left at night. If you want to jump in there, use code VIPDISC for VIP disc. That'll get you 50% off the first 2 months. But I'll be back on Monday with a live show, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, as we do every day. So hope to see y'all there. And until I do, happy betting.